Welcome to the InnovaBuzz podcast, where our job is to help you build visibility, professional credibility, and connection with your ideal client by putting the human at the centre of innovative marketing, so you can build and strengthen an engaging, enduring relationship with your ideal clients. I'm Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and I'm honoured that you're here with me. If you haven't joined our wonderful marketing transformation community yet, go to innovabiz.co and collect your free gift as well. Do subscribe to the show and also leave a review because it helps others find us. Let's get into today's masterclass on this InnovaBuzz podcast.
We're moving away, thankfully, from being transactional in how we live our lives, whether it's for personal reasons or business reasons, and coming together as people. And when you think back to it, community, that sense of purpose as to why you do what you do, has stood the test of time. We now just need to make sure that message is clear at every touch point of how you engage with people.
Welcome back. I hope you've had an awesome week so far. If you haven't yet listened to my recent conversations with Chris Barras-Brown of Upping Your Elvis and with Neil Sahota, IBM Master Inventor, then go check them out, but only after you've listened to today's conversation. I'm really excited today to have on the InnovaBuzz podcast as my guest both Sonia Zeibeck and Dan Ahchow, the co-founders of Pappyon. Pappyon is a social networking platform that exists primarily to serve businesses wanting an easier way to build and maintain a strong professional online presence, to serve businesses that are seeking to support and adopt sustainable solutions, as well as a base for connection that is filled with substance. A base that they can use and depend on to thrive amongst the connections that matter most. The power of the Pappyon platform lies in improving the quality of the networks established online and enabling businesses to create a hub for contact details and links to other online channels. In our discussion today, Sonia and Dan talk to me about building real connections that lead to better business. We talked about how COVID has changed online networking and how we can benefit from that. And we talked about great things that are achieved when technology is combined with human connection and purpose. Without further ado, then let's fly into the hive and get the buzz from Sonia Zeibeck and Dan Ahchow. Hi, I'm your host Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and I'm really excited to welcome today to the InnovaBuzz podcast from very close by in my hometown, Geelong, Australia, Sonia Zeibeck and Dan Ahchow, who are the co-founders of Pappyon, which is an app that enables powerful and meaningful professional connections focused on relationships and not algorithms. I love that. So welcome to the InnovaBuzz podcast, Sonia and Dan. It's a real privilege to have you here as my guests.
Thank you. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks, Jürgen. We're excited.
Now, Pappyon's all about business networking and connecting people in a different way. And I'm curious, what inspired you to develop an app that was focused on business networking, and where did you see the gaps that Pappyon is designed to fill?
No, that's a great question. And I think the high level answer starts with the fact that for a long while now, both of us have seen technology as an enabler of connection, but not necessarily the builder of relationships. And by that, I mean, it's relationship building still requires the people involved to be proactive, to seek each other out and create that strong human connection that you cannot replicate through algorithms and so forth. So we've taken a lot of time to look at the likes of all the social media platforms and how businesses use them to engage with their clients, their customers, stakeholders, and whatnot. And for the most part, it's still very shallow from where it sits for us. The substance, the deeper meaning as to why you do what you do, why you have that conversation with someone about your business just doesn't shine strongly enough through the digital platforms. So Pappyon is being shaped to really give people in business the better tools to take them from connecting to getting to know each other, building trust, and then really claiming to have a strong relationship.
Yeah, I really love that. And I've been saying for quite some time on the podcast around Facebook that I'm on a Facebook diet, and yet, people still use Facebook in business, particularly for the groups feature. And it always frustrates me a little bit and I've got a couple of groups that are really valuable to me, but it frustrates me because I have to go onto Facebook and then I'm bombarded with all this other noise, which is, as you say, people abdicating the relationship building to the Facebook algorithms by bombarding everybody with messages that are not necessarily relevant, and then not going to the next level, even if the message is relevant, not going to the next level. So how is Pappyon different to that?
Yeah, no, that's you use a lot of keywords there, and noise is a really big one. There is a lot of noise out there in the digital space, and I think what often happens with human beings is we become complacent. Someone else sets the rules of engagement, they make the decisions for us, and we just roll with it, until, a few years passes. In this case, I think, let's say 10, 15 years of social media being in our lives. I think the time now is really coming to the fore to question why we're using these mediums. And for us, we're wanting to create a platform that gives power back to the users to create their own experiences, not ones that we set for them. Because I think for the most part, that goes against the human nature of what it means.
Yeah, I think something that you discussed early in the development of Pappyon was how you like to have a clear separation between business and personal life. And that's something that Facebook is definitely not. You're going in there, logging in under your own personal account, yet at the same time trying to do business. And it really confuses you as to what content you should put out there and how you should present yourself. Whereas Pappyon's designed to be a place that's strictly for business.
Yeah, it's interesting. So if you consider, say, LinkedIn, which to me is much more business focused than say Facebook or the other kind of social, if you like, personal social media as principles, and yet, LinkedIn still has this issue of people will just reach out to connect and grow their connections as a vanity metric. So I've got thousands of connections, and they connect with people to collect connections rather than to build a relationship. And I get heaps of connection requests, and all it is just the button clicked. So it's a standard, so-and-so has requested a connection. And usually I don't respond to those unless, I might look at the person's profile, and unless, if Elon Musk did that, I'd probably connect. But if it's somebody I don't know, then I would take the approach, they don't consider me important enough to send me a personal message. So why should I connect? Which is kind of a relationship thing, right? And yet some people send some really great personal messages, and that's resulted in relationships building. The other one is, of course, that often when you connect with somebody, the first message you get back is, "Hey, buy my stuff," which which isn't relationship building either. And I usually unconnect with those people. I guess my point is, with LinkedIn, there are ways I think you can use it as relationship building. So how's Pappyon going to be different? And I guess the bigger question to me is, why do we need another social media platform?
Yeah, no, spot on. One of the key differences with LinkedIn and Pappyon is, firstly, as you alluded to, LinkedIn very much is that collection of contacts type of platform. It doesn't start out with everyone being galvanized around the same why. Why are we all here on this platform? Why are we all wanting to engage together? For what purpose? So Pappyon's tagline is real connection, better business. And by that, we are trying to project a message that in using Pappyon, you're using it because you have a reason to be connecting with someone. You either already know them, do business together, you've been introduced, or you've crossed paths at an event that has given you a strong indication that you share some mutual interests, something in common. So from the outset, there's purpose as to why you've connected. It's not just a random search to build your numbers of connections there. And you actually need to be able to identify through the Pappyon platform that you do know each other or have good reason to be connecting. So we are truly trying to build a message around people coming together around quite firm sets of rules of engagement to discourage that random request of connection coming into the space, because it just creates more noise. Pappyon is really around keeping it around the quality, not the quantity, which, in marketing, as you know, Jürgen, will trump every other strategy all day, every day, if you just keep focusing on quality and why you're there in the first place. LinkedIn really is there to serve individuals first and foremost, whereas Pappyon is there purely for businesses and the business owners and the individuals that represent the business. So in connecting on Pappyon, immediately the relationship is around the business itself, what the business aims to do, what difference it serves to make to your life, and educating the network around the business and the why of the business, not so much the why of the individual who is looking to progress their own personal and professional brand for future career growth, which is generally the domain of LinkedIn.
Yeah, it certainly started out that way in terms of, putting CVs up there and looking for job opportunities, I guess, and looking for potential employers who could then see your CV there and your resume and your history.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've never made any secret of that. LinkedIn, that has been the core of their platform, is truly to drive it from a recruitment hunting ground and a sales prospecting ground. And that's fine. Business does need that. There's nothing untoward about that. However, take it a step further in terms of that relationship building discussion that we're all really driving a lot stronger these days. It's just too shallow. You cannot build relationships with tens of thousands of connections. As you say, some people will take the time to send you a courteous, personalized message when they're requesting to connect. However, it doesn't stop there. It's a journey of you've got to follow through. You need to truly show to someone that you want to invest time in getting to know each other. And so the feature we're looking at bringing into Pappyon is to continue encouraging that journey from connection to taking the time to learn, to ask, to be curious, to meet offline one day, hopefully. Online now, thankfully, is becoming a norm. But we're really looking to help hold the hands of people in business and just guide them, not dictate, just guide and demonstrate where the value lies and how opportunity will eventually arise if you truly honor what it means to build a relationship.
Yeah, I love that. And you said that taking the time to send a personalized message, making the connection, but then that's still a very shallow relationship. I mean, it says that the person is interested in investing time in that relationship, but it's kind of like if you using the classic thing, you turn up with an engagement ring at the proposal and you've rehearsed your proposal speech, and then afterwards, once the other person says yes, you say, okay, I'm not going to talk to you anymore now.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
And you wouldn't do that, right?
absolutely.
Yeah, you've definitely got to dance with someone before you even get to that proposal stage.
Yeah, of course. Now, you did mention, the fact that we're kind of living through this pandemic and doing a lot more online. I mean, one of the things about the existing social media platforms is it does open the opportunity to start building relationships with people online that are not, you're not geographically co-located, so that you would meet them, say, in your local networking events or at other events that happen where you cross paths with people. But and of course, with COVID, everybody's now discovered, hey, you can do connection online. You can jump on these Zoom meetings. There's thousands of Zoom meetings happening all the time. In fact, I get quite frustrated because I probably get about 10 emails a day saying, hey, we're starting this meeting right now. And I say, well, actually, I don't. I've got better things to do right now. But how do you see Pappyon working in terms of, I guess my question is, what's the process of getting involved? I mean, do you meet people first and then you invite them to connect on Pappyon, or is it the other way around?
I guess the scenarios in terms of how you meet or come to know each other in this day and age really does center on a few factors. And firstly, for example, I attended that Pick My Brain event the other week and had some people reach out to me, and that was awesome. Now, the event itself serves as the introduction. That is how we met. That is what brought us together. So immediately that gives us reason to reach out and take that initial introduction to the next step, which is to connect. And in the online world, one of the most exciting features that we feel there's a really big gap that Pappyon can fill is to facilitate an easy connection amongst groups of people in these Zoom networking environments. And I'll let Dan chime in here, and he can talk about multi-connect, which is...
so that's our multi-connect feature. And it's absolutely phenomenal how networking has absolutely boomed in this COVID-19 era that we're in right now. Beforehand, networking was maybe a once a week, once a month thing. It involved actually getting dressed and getting out of your home and driving to the event and the like. And then once you're there, depending on the event and the structure of the event, it could have actually been really cliquey. You might have, if it was a dinner or a lunch or a breakfast event, effectively while someone's talking, you only get to speak to the person to your right and to your left. And if they're duds, then you've just wasted your morning, unfortunately. Then afterwards, there might be a chance to meet a couple of people or not. Quite often, these networking events actually ended with you walking out the door with two business cards, the person on the right, the person on the left. What we've found in these Zoom meetings is that because they're so easy to get to and create and to bring people together, that the number of people that you're getting on a call is dramatically higher than what's been going to traditional networking events. And the likes of the Zoom breakout sessions where you're put together with 4 to 10 unique people to talk for 5 to 10 minutes. That's a networking environment that doesn't necessarily happen at the vast majority of traditional networking events. So what's happening is that people are able to meet a lot more people and engage with a lot more people. And I think it's really important in this COVID-19 era because the whole business environment is being recreated and reshuffled, and building these new networks are becoming integral to everyone in business. So what Pappyon aims to do in that space is effectively enable the event organizer or anyone to effectively put a single link in the Zoom chat, and then everyone clicks on that link, puts in, quickly creates a Pappyon account and puts in their contact details. And importantly, they put in their preferred social media platforms. So if you're an Instagram star, then you put Instagram at the top of the list. If you're a Facebook guru, then you put your Facebook link at the top of the list. And it enables you to put in all of these various contacts so that at the end of the meeting, everyone's able to access this one page that's got the details of the people that were attending that meeting. And say it's a big meeting, all of a sudden you're online with Seth Godin and there's 1,000 people watching him at that point in time. There's an extra feature that can be put in that requires a double opt-in, because the last thing that we want is for some spammer to get hold of a list of 1,000 people and start trying to sell you, dare I say it, SEO services left, right.
Yeah, that'd be the classic one, isn't it? That spammers go with.
So instead, what it requires is for you to go through and select who you're interested in meeting. Similarly, the others are suggested to do the same. And if both of you have opted in to connect with each other, then the connection is made at that point. So that's that way that really quickly and easily, with just a couple of basic steps, you can create these new connections in that environment.
Yeah, that's a really fascinating application, and of course it makes it quite a bit easier for the person running the Zoom event to connect people as well, rather than, because I've been on many of these networking events on Zoom, and then afterwards the host usually says, look, I'll share all the connections, either if, like the Pick My Brain example you gave us, there's a platform there where most people have a profile on that, which is a training platform, but that's got to be put together afterwards and shared, or people will say, well, we'll list everybody's LinkedIn or everybody's email address. That's got to be put together and shared. So if that's all addressed up front, and also in a way that it filters through that double opt-in mechanism you described, Dan, it filters people. So that's that's a little bit like the LinkedIn. You get a request to connect, and you don't connect until the other person approves it.
Yeah, absolutely. We simply really want to make it as easy as it would be if you were meeting it in person at a networking event. Once upon a time, you just slip out your business card and you'd exchange your contact details. And so effectively, we're looking to simulate that and really 10xing that experience, as Dan described. So think of it as though that single link that you opt in to say, yes, I would like to exchange my business contact details with other attendees. That's effectively you saying, please pass on my business card to 100 other people, and vice versa. So if you, so I guess that would make the event 101 people in attendance. You would opt in to share or exchange your digital business card, so to speak. And if all 100 other attendees wanted to meet you too, and they'd opted in, through one single click of a link, you would receive 100 other business cards, and they would be downloaded into your app, and vice versa for the other attendees. So from there, it just eliminates that clunky process of, leaving an online event and wondering, okay, how do I reach out to Sonia now? Which platform is she most engaged with for me to message her, to say it was great to meet you at Pick My Brain or whatever event you met at? And, for example, I've jumped off and I've really had some amazing conversations with people and felt so compelled to want to continue that. I've jumped on, connected with them on LinkedIn. 10 days later, no response, only to find out they barely use LinkedIn. So through this digital business card tool that we have designed, it just eliminates that uncertainty. It's just there. The person is telling you how to reach them from the word go, and from that. So that's the streamlined element of the Pappyon platform, is just to cut out the uncertainty as to what direction to take next in terms of connecting and commencing the building of a relationship.
Okay, so the connecting then afterwards, once you have details of that person in Pappyon, the connecting then happens through another platform, basically their preferred social media platform. Is that how it works?
Not necessarily. It's more a chance for you to identify where best to support them. So you really would use Pappyon as the initial step of making a connection, having the right information about that person and the business that they're involved with, and from there establishing what online channels actually will help you get to know them better and get to know their business better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's this dual combination of having Pappyon and having the contacts directory in the Pappyon app, where you can actually see everyone's card and everyone's preferred contact methods and social media platforms. But also Pappyon itself will have its own activity feed where the people can see the activity of the others, including updates and events and new connections and the like.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit more then about some of the other features in Pappyon that we haven't touched on yet.
Yeah, so one of the major elements of Pappyon is the digital business card tool, which we really haven't talked too much about to date here. And really, that tool there facilitates the method of connection. However, we have attached a social networking platform to round off the whole Pappyon proposition, because what happens is you connect, and then what? It's just it's a blank wall. You really don't know what step to take next. So there's been a lot of digital business card solutions that have made it easy to exchange contact details, but nothing happens after that. Pappyon by creating a social network of its own with the connections that actually matter to you and your business. And that is not random connections, as we've identified. It's people you actually know or have been introduced to. One of the most powerful features of our social networking platform is the activity feed that Dan mentioned, the news feed, where you can create content, share content amongst each other on Pappyon without fear that you won't be seen by your networks, if that makes sense. So you mentioned earlier one of the value offerings we put forward is relationships over algorithms. This is an ad-free environment. We do not want the newsfeed to be a jungle, if you can understand what I'm saying, in the sense that
like Facebook, basically.
absolutely. We think that users of Pappyon deserve to be seen by each other, deserve to be seen by those that they're connected with. Otherwise, how else can you remain updated with who they are, what they're doing, what they're working on, to actually help that relationship build deeper and give you something to continually engage over. So
yeah, absolutely. And then in a traditional tech world, we talk of MVPs and the like, and that's what we're launching to market with. And then once the critical mass builds up, then there's a whole pipeline of super special features behind the scenes. I'm not too sure if Sonia's going to let me share those with you just yet, unfortunately. But effectively, once you've got that critical mass, then it's going to be using that behind the scenes information to help you drive better and deeper connections, serendipitous connections and opportunities to catch up and to meet in a number of various different ways. But that's the secret sauce behind the scenes, is it, Son?
Yeah, I guess to me that sounds a lot like what you mentioned right at the beginning of our conversation, and that's that, it's an enabler for people to get involved in nurturing the relationship with one another.
yeah, absolutely. It's we really need to bring back just the sense of community and somehow bring that into the online space. And that really will depend on the users galvanizing around these messages that not only us, but yourself and other people that you've also introduced us to of recent times, that are really pushing that message around what connection means. What does it really mean to be connected? What is the human element of this world that we're living in look like now, particularly for business? We're moving away, thankfully, from being transactional in how we live our lives, whether it's for personal reasons or business reasons, and coming together as people. And when you think back to it, community, that sense of purpose as to why you do what you do, has stood the test of time. We now just need to make sure that message is clear at every touch point of how you engage with people. And we've got a lot of channels out there in the online world. Pappyon is going to streamline it all, so it all comes back to the one reason, and that is you are connecting, you are using digital means to help people learn more about your deeper purpose and what you're striving to achieve, what difference you want to make. And it's just a very scattered environment. So Pappyon really wants to just streamline that, create this central hub that people can depend on to determine credibility, to determine genuine and authentic reasons to be existing in this day and age.
All right. Now, Dan, you talked about the minimum viable product. So what's the launch timeline for that?
Yeah, so we're on track to be launching in mid-October hopefully. Is that still the case? Yep. And that at that point, that enables us to launch the multi-connect feature that people can use online in that online networking environment, as well as the Pappyon app, which will be the digital business cards, the contact list, the additional information about people, and the activity feed and the like.
And where can people kind of get early access or request early access for that October launch?
Yeah, so at the moment, we've got our pre-launch campaign happening right now, Jürgen. So you can jump on at pappyon.com, pappyon.com, and sign up for the VIP waitlist right now.
And do you have lots of people signed up already?
We have, after, well, as you're aware, we presented to the Geelong Chamber of Commerce as our first audience just over 2 weeks ago, and the reception since then has been incredible. We've probably had about, of the people we've reached, 50% conversion of sign-ups for the waitlist, and a lot of the email inquiries coming through for further discussion and further email.
Yeah, it's been quite a fun journey, actually, in that we launched in the local city of Geelong, where we're all from, and was able to get that really great reception from the local business community in that space. And from there, and that was the initial week, the initial launch. And from there, we started to see the list grow and grow. And now we're really scratching our heads as to where these new names and email addresses and all that sort of thing are coming from. We're like, okay, we could tell that this is the initial launch cluster, and we can see that that person's connected to that one. But wow, where are these other people coming from? And just even straight out of the gap in the first couple of weeks of the pre-launch campaign, we're starting to see that virality kick in already, which is just fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm guessing you're getting lots of international requests too, which to me, we talked earlier about all these Zoom meetings and the growth in networking, in online networking in particular through COVID. And one of the great things about that, I think, is everybody's suddenly realizing that, hey, we can connect with people anywhere and we can have these conversations with people all around the world. And if you get to talk to somebody in a different part of the world, in a different country, different language, different perspectives, it just opens up so many possibilities.
Oh, absolutely. And it's amazing how many people just like yourself there are that might not be in the direct area that you'd meet at a local event, but all of a sudden that niche interest, there's 1,000 similar people scattered around the world that are more than happy to jump on a Zoom call together. It's been phenomenal.
Yeah. All right. Now, tell us about some of the challenges you've faced in launching a new business in times when, we've been kind of locked down and restricted to working from home largely.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. Well, we were actually ready to kick off our pre-launch marketing campaign around the 16th of March this year. And just as we were about to press the go button, bam, as I'm sure is the story for many of us out there, COVID hit, came along us and threw us all off track. And for us at Pappyon at that time, one of the key messages that we were really, really excited about was how people could use Pappyon to go beyond just the app, to talk, to go beyond and meet in person and really start cementing these relationships that start off online but tend to fizzle out. And we're like, wow, okay, that.
Well, we're actually about to launch with a professionally made video with a hired actor. She walks into the screen and her first words out of her mouth are, how great is it to be in a crowded room? And it's like, this isn't going to work in a COVID world.
Yeah.
Full of business people connecting, networking, and it's like, gee, yeah, it really was great being back in that crowded room with the conversations flowing and the drinks flowing as well. So we immediately had to hit the pause button on that, and then came the realization that we're actually onto a winner. The digital business cards absolutely are the future. We were preparing ourselves for this 2, 3, 5 year transition from paper-based business cards to digital business cards. And that just hit us that in this world of COVID, no one's actually going to want to take your piece of paper from hand to hand. That's just a journey in today's world. So we're like, oh wow, digital business cards, particularly the way that Pappyon's designed, where you can just sort of flick it from one card to another, one phone to another, is just going to be phenomenal in the networking environment of the future. But then the next step was well, that's great when we actually are meeting face to face and our meter and a half apart from each other and the like. But what happens in these Zoom environments? And then that's where that pivot towards the multi-connect feature, which was originally just a nice to have into the future, all of a sudden became absolutely central to networking in 2020 and beyond. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride, that's for sure. From thinking, oh no, it's all over, to going, we're on a winner, to just wait. If we play this right and provide business people with the tools that they need in 2020 and beyond, then Pappyon is set to fly.
Yeah, that was the big gap that opened up for us. So fortunately, we can think of COVID as, being a really positive twist in our journey, because the relevance of the solution we can bring to market now is really stronger than any other social media platform that exists to enable easy and fast connection when you're meeting online. Take it that next step further, which is what Pappyon was always going to help with anyway, is that for businesses, it's bringing back a chance to make a professional first impression when you do connect. So and that's where the use of a business card to be able to showcase your branding, whatever key messages that you would attach to it, immediately elevates that sense of professionalism, as opposed to just flicking off I'd like to join your network, please accept sort of message. It doesn't signal anything around the fact that you actually exist, your business is something, and people don't get to see that in the current landscape. So just to be able to bring everything together, take it from scattered to streamlined, and just facilitate that ease of connecting, get rid of the time, the noise, and then set people off immediately on a journey to start getting to know each other, rather than spending so much time wondering where to start. And that's that's the exciting
so I guess
thing.
we're glass half full people when it comes to COVID and the way that's changed the dynamic of the world, that there has to be a good way to make the most of this crazy year that has struck us.
Yes. Well, it certainly has been a bit of a roller coaster ride for most of us, and I know a lot of businesses are suffering that are relying on the in-person meeting and in-person interactions, and the transition to online. I mean, it's been happening for a long time, but it's been accelerated dramatically now, and you're seeing things like, the Zoom shares gone through the roof. I wish I had the sense to buy some Zoom shares back in March.
That would have been good.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
They say hindsight's 20/20. I'm really not too sure what that's meant to mean these days.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. It's could be ambiguous. All right. Well, this has been wonderful to learn a lot more about Pappyon, and we'll come back to the website and where people can find out more a little bit later. What I'd like to do now is go on to the Buzz, which is our innovation round, and it's designed to help our audience who are primarily innovators and leaders in their field with some tips from your experience. And I know you've both had lots of experience background that we haven't spoken about today, launching or designing or coming up with Pappyon as an idea and building that business. So I've got 5 questions there, and hopefully you'll draw on all of that experience and give us some really insightful answers that'll inspire our listener to go and do something awesome today as a result.
Absolutely. Bring it on.
What do you think the number one thing is anyone can do to be more innovative?
For my liking, I think the most critical thing is to exercise freedom. And freedom really can come from a variety of sources, most notably time and money. I think if you can, well, money can buy you time, let's face it, right? You can engage people to help you with the menial tasks of getting work done and so forth. That's another area of Dan's expertise, getting stuff done quickly. But for me, to be more innovative is you need that time and space mentally to think, to explore, to dream. Without that, you will be just knee deep in work that really just gets you from A to B, but just does not create a big vision for the future.
Yeah, I'll probably riff off that just a little bit, that it is about dedicating that space, dedicating that time and money. And that's what's required. That even if you look at Google from really early days was setting aside 20% of its employee time just for those innovative projects. Yes, business is business. Yes, you have to serve your existing customers and make sure that business is running smoothly. But unless you're setting aside that time and money for innovation just isn't going to happen. It's a absolute choice, an absolute decision that every business owner needs to make. And if you don't make that decision, then your business is under threat from the innovators, from the disruption that will come. There's a great book called The Innovator's Dilemma that goes back and looks at this over history, and it talks about excavators, and there was 2 or 3 clear stages of evolution in the excavator industry. Now that doesn't sound very innovative to me, talking about digging up dirt, but effectively the innovation that went from moving the excavators using cables versus using them with hydraulics. There's not a single worldwide leading excavation company today that existed during the cable era. So all of those businesses that were worldwide leaders before hydraulics all got completely abolished because they weren't focusing on innovation.
Yeah. I love the Innovator's Dilemma. It's a great book, and I lived through in the early days of my corporate career where I thought I had the dream job because I'm a hobby photographer. I lived through the launch of the consumer digital photography and how those film manufacturers reacted to that from the inside. And yes, that kind of shaped my philosophy a little bit. And yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned Google as an example. I know that Google, they do have that 20% of each employee's time is dedicated to a project of their own choosing. And not only that, they actually encourage people to leave their desk when they're working on that, to go to a different physical environment within the building somewhere. And they've got lots of different rooms where people can just plonk their laptop and work on. So they actually tell them, when you do your 20% project, go to a different location. So they actually make space. They associate a different space with the innovation project.
That's genius. I wonder what we should do in this COVID world. Maybe we should leave the kitchen and go to the lounge room.
Yes, well, there is the Disney creativity strategy, where you've got different spaces for the creativity spaces, different to the sweat room, where you're doing the hard, well, not the hard, you're doing the work as opposed to dreaming up the ideas.
Absolutely. That reminds me of Paul Graham's from Y Combinator. He's got the maker schedule versus the creator schedule, and manager schedule versus the maker schedule.
Yeah,
and they're completely different. That when you're running your business and you're in that management phase, then yes, you do have to have lots of meetings and switch from task to task to task. But when you're in that innovator space, you really are best to set aside a big block of time, 3 to 4 hours, where you can just focus on something new and make sure that you're not interrupted by people or notifications or phone calls or any of those other things.
Love it. All right. Now, what's the best thing you've done to develop new ideas?
Yeah. Well, the Pappyon journey is coming up to 3 years now. So we have spent a lot of time just to get it to the point it has. But one of the earliest exercises that we did, that I found, or we both found actually, we both dedicated almost 48 hours straight, really, bar time to sleep. And that was to take guidance from an experienced strategic thinker to put us through what you would call a rapid concept workshop, where he took our visions, our thoughts at that point in time as to what Pappyon was going to be, and just grilled us on the why, the purpose, what difference was this going to make to the people that would use the platform. Think of it as an inquisition of sorts, really. And I can't tell you how powerful that was to shape the course that we have been on ever since, that has taken us just from having a great idea that may make some money, could help some people here and there, to something that we can really shape to exist for the longer term, to exist, to grow with the market that it has been designed to serve. And that for my liking, I think was invaluable, and it really lends itself to the question you just asked us prior to that, is that we took the time to just block everything else out and just focus on exactly the task at hand, the strategy that needed to be shaped to ensure that our vision attached very strongly to a why, very strongly to a need, as to why anyone would want to use Pappyon. And so again, if people can allow themselves to spend the time and perhaps some money where needed, to really think through every corner of what you're looking to create, the foundation that sets is just, it's powerful.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic session, a very, very intense couple of days. Cost us a bit of money, that's for sure, but it was a great investment. And I believe that bringing in that third party to consult us through that phase was just absolutely integral. Having an external party that could help us. but also that was bringing the reality test to everything. That it wasn't just the two of us in a room going crazy brainstorming with ideas. There was actually an experienced consultant there that was guiding us through a methodology and putting a bit of a litmus test to our harebrained elements of the idea.
Yeah.
It really gets you away from pontificating amongst yourselves, really thinking that you're just amazing. I guess it was the first real test to validate our thoughts and visions. So.
Yeah, I love it. And we have an exercise which I kind of use a lighthouse analogy of that, which essentially goes through those sort of steps, and then the lighthouse is part of, or the metaphor is that's the light that you're shining with that consistent message, because you've built that foundation of a clear understanding of why you're doing what it is you're doing, what exactly that is, what that encompasses, who you're doing it for, and at a high level, what it is you're doing. So I love that.
Yeah. And you, is that George someone?
Bryant.
George Bryant. Yep, he's the one that took me on a journey and helped me discover that lighthouse metaphor. He uses that in his whole marketing program. Yeah.
I was listening to that and I was thinking that is absolutely brilliant. And it's such a great metaphor because it's like once you've got everything built up, then the light can project it out to the world. And that's the moment when you've got a story to tell the world. And it was like, okay, that's brilliant. And the other element of I really loved was that once the light is projecting out to the world, then you've got to keep it on. Then you can't be a lighthouse that's only turned on half the time.
That's right.
Because the ships won't rely on it, and that's so important in business that you've got to, if you do hang out the shingle in business, then you leave it hung out, that you're not wishy-washy about whether it's on or off, or whether you are a consultant or you're not a consultant, or whatever. You've got to be consistent that this is what we're doing, and come to me at any point in time and I'm available to help.
Yeah, that's right. And if you've done that work that you described now and getting really clear about your why, it's the why that keeps driving you, even when, maybe the environment is such that it's a little bit more difficult than it might be, like we are facing right now in COVID times.
Yeah.
All right. Now, aside from Pappyon, what's a favourite resource of yours?
I think anything that can make collaboration easy. So Slack has been a very big part of our lives.
Yeah, I like the Google G Suite has been absolutely fantastic. Love being able to get into a doc and be able to collaborate in real time. Probably be a little bit cheeky and say that over the last 10 years or so, I've been building our own a collaboration platform that's used by a couple of thousand businesses across Australia. So that's EACO, EACO. And it's like a super powerful version of Trello. So it started out like Trello with cards, job cards and boards, but then realized that a lot of collaboration these days doesn't just happen within your own team or your own organization, that it goes across organizations. So we enable a lot of companies to collaborate with contractors and subcontractors and the like on different projects and jobs and the like, and had a lot of success working in franchise sector, roadside assistance, which is effectively an Uber for roadside assistance, facility management and the like, and also using it our own events and hospitality businesses and the like. So No, it's sort of a little bit of drink your own champagne or eat your own dog food.
Yeah.
But,
So what's that one called?
Eco, EACO, and our website's eco.systems.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to check that one out too. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
what's the best way to keep a project on track? Leaving aside COVID.
Absolutely. Cool. Personally, my background is financial advisor for the best part of 18 years. And I think the best way to keep a project or a client on track is to manage expectations from the beginning, to ensure that every touch point that leads to communicating the next step just cuts out any grey matter, enables that person just to simply take stock of where that project is at, what the next step requires, and just helps them just put that one step forward with minimal effort, really. And I think, particularly with clients, is if they're being asked to take a next step, respect them and explain to them why it is you're collecting that piece of information, why it is that you're asking them to part with, X amount of dollars and so forth. I think if you can always eliminate shock in terms of where you're headed with someone or a project, it just makes people much stronger in working with you to get to the eventual outcome.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's sort of a lot like respect in a way, isn't it? That, and it's like what Jürgen was saying about those connection requests that people make, that if you are just hitting the send button all the time and not actually taking the time and effort to respect other people, then you're not going to get the respect that you want in response. That if you actually do take the time in any communications that you do to go, okay, this is why I'm communicating with you, this is the outcome that both of us can achieve at the end of the day, then you've got a much greater likelihood of achieving that outcome. So, what's the best way to keep a project on track? To respect the other people.
Yeah, it comes back to trust. I think trust is at the heart of every successful relationship, right? So if people think you're just taking them for a ride, if they think that you're just abusing their time unfairly, that need to create a team to get a job done just will fall apart.
Yeah, I love it. So setting expectations, lots of communication and respectful communication, which comes back to the whole principle that Pappyon is built on, right? It's the human connection and the relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is about having respect for each other, being mindful and courteous, and being there when it matters, and knowing when to just take a step back and let the other person come in and take the stage and play their part. It really does come down to working together. Whether it's to get a job done or to make a relationship better. It's at the end of the day, all these elements work for the one purpose, and that's to achieve something, and that something is the purpose that is bringing you together in the first place.
All right, so focus on the purpose as well. That's a big one. Okay, and what's the number one thing anyone can do to differentiate themselves?
I think Peter Thiel really nailed this in his book 0 to 1, where he talked about creating a monopoly. That a lot of people, for the sake of simplicity or the like, choose a business or a market and say, we're in this market, me too. And then the saddest thing about that is that you end up trying to cannibalize each other, and it becomes a race to the bottom. And the worst thing about a race to the bottom is you might just win. So, so the aim and the way, Peter Thiel, he's fantastic as, one of the foundation investors in Facebook and on the board there, and created Palantir. And I think he's part of the PayPal mafia, that he worked alongside Elon Musk and the like in creating PayPal. They effectively, their aim is to create a monopoly from day one. Now, if you've got a monopoly that's only got 100 clients, but you're the only choice, the only type of product or service that suits those 100 clients, then that is a much better place to start, and a much better, stronger foundation to build upon than being a Me Too company with 100,000 clients. Because so that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really key point there. And also, when you think about building relationships, you've got those 100 clients, you're the only choice. You can build much deeper relationships with those 100 clients. And of course, even when somebody else then comes along into that space and you're no longer necessarily a monopoly, you've already built those really deep relationships.
Absolutely. And it's sort of funny. I see the same thing with Elon Musk and Tesla, because there's one, and you see the Tesla, you talked about Zoom's share price going through the roof. Tesla's share price, I think it's trebled in
right.
this year alone. It's worth twice as much as the second highest valued car maker. And I think that's because he doesn't see that he's making cars. He sees that Toyota and Ford and I don't know who else is out there that's big these days, General Motors, they're all competing on the same platform. Tesla is in a completely different space, and it's playing in that space that's 5-10 years away. And I think that the share price is reflective in that what Toyota's got is all of these legacy infrastructure and all of these legacy systems and processes and all that are going to be completely defunct in 5 or 10 years. Whereas in Tesla is perfectly positioned for that future, because it doesn't see the market as cars, it sees the market as electric cars at bare minimum, or the future of human transportation.
Yeah, and of course there's other spin-offs that come out of that too.
Absolutely.
Battery technology, which is applicable in a whole lot of other areas. Okay, well, this has been absolutely fabulous, Sonia and Dan. I've really enjoyed this, learned a lot about Pappyon, and there's been lots of conversation around the Buzz Round as well, which is based on some other experience that you've got to share with us too. So I really appreciate that. Now, where can people find out more about Pappyon? Give us that website again, and also maybe where is the best place to reach out and get in touch and have a conversation if people want to take this further.
Yeah, the website is the best place. It provides a comprehensive overview of what Pappyon is and what it's setting out to achieve, and the difference it serves to make to people in business. The website is Pappyon, Pappyon.com. You can also follow us on Instagram. Our handle is @pappyon.co, and the same handle on Facebook. So we're very active on both those platforms to help educate and bring more awareness as to why Pappyon is bringing its solution to the world of people in business and the difference we hope we can make to them all.
Great. Thanks for that. And we'll have links in the show notes to those mentioned sites. Now, do you have any parting advice for our listeners today?
I think that business should just be fun. And one thing that's been great about this COVID world is that it's gone away from suit and tie and everyone sitting around the corporate boardroom and the like, to literally seeing people in their kitchens and in their lounge rooms on the Zoom calls with the cats and the dogs running around, or kids screaming in the background, and the realization that we're actually all human. And so from that perspective, yes, we turn up to work every day to do a job, but realize that we're doing that job with other people, whether the people that you're working with or the people that you're collaborating with, your clients and your partners and the like. And step one should be to treat everyone as individuals, as people, and get to know them as people. And then step two, it's to help them get their jobs done in the most efficient and effective manner. But if you can do it in a way that has fun, makes fun, is fun, then that makes the world a better place for all of us.
Yeah.
Just keep it real.
Yeah, I love it. Have fun. Yeah. Makes things a lot easier too.
Exactly. It's amazing how often I've seen that business. I've seen hard business and easy business. And once you've seen how easy business can be at times, you really have to scratch your head as to why some people are making it hard. So let's just make it easy on each other.
Yes, that's a good message to wrap up with. So finally then, who's someone else I need to have a conversation with on this podcast, and why?
Yeah, so I've been had the luck recently of being mentored by Paul Chapman, who created a company called Australian Turntables. And more recently, he was the founder of the Bendigo Invention and Innovation Festival. And he's also, I believe, founder of the Centre for Optimism, which I think is just a brilliant concept. So Paul's been around for a few years now, and handed over the operations of his core business to his kids. But the knowledge and experience that he's built up in those years of creating and building his business are just absolutely fantastic, and he's just been a joy with all the pure information that he's shared with us this year. So, I'd love to introduce you to Paul. I think he's great.
All right. Well, we'll get an introduction to Paul. Yeah. Now, I think you said you were going to give me 2 for 1. So, Sonia?
I have, I guess, a business associate who has become a friend, as many do in my world, because it is about building relationships. And her name is Veronica Shannon, and she's the founder of a company called Retub, RETUB, and they've been working on transforming sustainable packaging for takeaway food, particularly. And it's another big element we haven't had a chance to touch on in our conversation today, but sustainability and bringing in solutions for a better world that protects the environment is really at the heart of a lot of the decisions Dan and I make in business and in life personally. And Veronica is really making great inroads into the world of sustainable food packaging and so forth. So I'd love to introduce you to Veronica and let her share her story on the grander visions that she has to make the world a better place and improve the environment and protect the planet so we can all prosper well into the future, and obviously the next generation, which is always what every generation is working to leave a legacy. So
leaves the world a better place than when we came into it.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that's fabulous. So I'll get the introductions to Paul and Veronica from you, and look forward to having conversations with both of them on the show. So thanks for that. And thanks so much for sharing your time and your insights with us so generously today, and the story of Pappyon and some of the challenges you've had in your initial plans for launch in this COVID world when COVID came along. So all the best for the launch, and let's stay in touch.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Jürgen. You're an awesome connector, and we feel very privileged to have had the chance to speak to you today, and we'll look forward to getting to know you better and better as time goes on.
Wonderful. We'll do that. I hope you enjoyed that delightful and informative conversation with Sonia and Dan and took something away from their episode. Of course, I love their focus on genuine human connection and building those human connections through relationships, using technology to free time to spend on the human interactions. I'd love to know what you took away from Sonia and Dan's episode. Leave a comment below the blog post, which you can find at innovabiz.co/Pappyon. That is Pappyon, all lowercase, all one word, innovabiz.co/Pappyon. Now you'll find contact information there for getting in touch with Sonia and Dan, as well as links to the Pappyon website, their social media pages, and the other resources we spoke about in today's conversation. Sonia suggested that we have a conversation with Veronica Shannon of Retub on a future InnovaBuzz podcast episode, and Dan suggested that we have a conversation with Paul Chapman of Australian Turntables on a future InnovaBuzz podcast episode. So Veronica and Paul, keep an eye on your inboxes for an invitation from us to the InnovaBuzz podcast, courtesy of Sonia Zeibeck and Dan Ahchow. Tune in again to the next episodes of the InnovaBuzz podcast, where we've got even more fantastic guests lined up, this time including Pete Newell of BMNT and Simon Leslie of Inc. Global. Thanks for listening to this episode. Make sure you subscribe to the show to be reminded of new episodes. It's free to subscribe. Leave a review if you like. Even if you don't like me, I'm okay with that. I'm asking you to leave a review because it helps other people find this show. Go to innovabiz.co to join our marketing transformation community and access a free gift my team and I made for you. It's the Marketing Master Mini Class. We want to give you everything you need to transform your marketing into a human-centered, relationship-focused growth engine. Until next time, I'm Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBizz. Remember, be awesome and keep innovating.